by Councilwoman Anthony.
How are you, Councilman? Good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Councilwoman Joanne Ryan. Welcome to the Committee on Finance regular meeting, Wednesday, June 9. It is 5:32. Madam Clerk, could you kindly read the roll?
Chairwoman Ryan?
Present.
Councilman Narducci?
Here.
Councilwoman Castillo?
Present.
Councilwoman Anthony?
Present.
Councilman Taylor is absent. We have 4 present and 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Okay. Let the record reflect that Pro Tem Councilman Espinal is with us this evening. Thank you. We are privileged to have the legal eagle, Solicitor Southgate is with us. Thank you very much. We have Director Echevarria is with us. Our benefits manager, Elizabeth Miller, not on screen, in the room, which is kind of fun. Okay, I think that's all we have to announce. Okay, folks. What I'd like to do, committee members, we're going to start from, we're going to take a couple of items out of order, if it's okay. I just think the flow will be a little easier. So I'd like to entertain a motion to take item 5, 6, and 7 out of order. May I have that motion?
Taking a motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Castillo, seconded by Councilman
Second the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, let's start with item 5, please. Madam Clerk, could you kindly read that item into the record?
Resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with Section 21-26A of the Code of Ordinances, Commercial Health and Benefits, LLC, $570,000 for a 3-year contract.
Okay. All righty. Director Silveria, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on this contract? Director?
No, I do not have any comments on this contract.
Okay. Okay. Madam Auditor?
Yes, this contract was referred to the full council because it exceeds the $500,000 threshold as stated in the ordinance, 21-26.
Okay. Has it been reviewed by the solicitor's office? You're muted, solicitor.
I beg your pardon, Madam Chair, I was on mute. Yes, we have reviewed it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, council committee members, any questions, concerns you have on this matter?
Madam Chair, if I may, just quick to the solicitor, what is her recommendation?
I recommend that you pass the contract as submitted, Councilman.
Thank you, solicitor.
Is that all, Councilman Nanducci?
Yes. Chairwoman.
Okay, great. Okay, I think that's it. I don't see any hands. May I have a motion to recommend approval on this item?
Motion made, Madam Chair.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Narducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, Madam Clerk, could you read item 6 into the record?
Resolution authorizing approval of payments by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with Section 21-26B of the Code of Ordinances, Panone, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara, LLC, $150,000 for legal services Water Supply Board.
Okay, Director Silveria, do you have any comments on this contract that's before us?
I do not have any comments on this
Okay.
contract, no.
Solicitor Southgate, have you reviewed this contract?
I have not, Madam Chair. The Providence Water Supply Board is a board separately constituted. It hires its own legal counsel, which is Panone Lopes Devereaux. Mr. O'Gara has been their general counsel for a number of years now. probably exceeding a decade. They are listed on the outside counsel that are authorized through the Board of Contract and Supply on an annual basis. But we do not separately review that contract because it's not a contract between the city and Pannone Lopes. It's between the Water Supply Board and Pannone Lopes, and their board is the one that's the initiating entity.
Okay, great. Water Supply Board, do we have a representative from the Water Supply Board? Carissa
Yes.
Richards, I see you. Welcome, Carissa.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Any comments that you'd like to make on a review of this contract or your recommendation to this body to approve the contract?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, we're having some technical issues here, so I apologize. But thank you, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this issue. Attorney, we're recommending the approval. Attorney Bill O'Gara is a principal in the firm of Pannone Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara, and he's the legal advisor to the Providence Water Supply Board.
Oh, you're muted. We've lost you, Carissa. Ms. Richards, we have muted. I'm sorry. There you go. Oh. Not working for you.
Madam Chair, I think Peter Pelosi was on also.
Councilman Narducci, just hold off a second, okay? Can you get Mr. Richard back?
Chairman, this is Peter Pelosi. I
Hold
am
on,
but I keep.
hold on, please.
You might have to hang up and dial in again.
Okay. Ms. Richards, I'm going to recommend that you hang up and dial back in. We'll get you back in as quickly as possible, okay? If you could try that. Okay. I understand someone else from the Water Board is here. Who might that be?
Peter Pelosi.
Okay. Could you identify yourself and your role at the Water Board?
Peter Pelosi, Deputy General Manager of Providence Water.
Okay. Are you recommending this contract for approval?
We are, Chairman. Pannone Lopes and Devereaux have been our legal counsel for, I believe, over 10 years. Carissa has all the particulars. And this contract is to continue the work that Mr. O'Gara is involved with all legal matters pertaining to Providence Water, as well as lawsuits and.
Okay. Full disclosure here, folks, I serve on the Providence Water Supply Board. I'm very familiar with Pannone, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara. They serve the Water Board very well. I have Councilwoman Anthony, your hand is up. Do you have a comment?
Well, I have a question. I just would like to know, is this a flat fee? I mean, how are they billing for their legal services?
It's a per hour fee to the Water Board.
And so this is a bill for services that have been rendered to date, and we have an itemized bill of all the time spent?
Mr. Pelosi, are you able? Okay, hold on. Mr. Pelosi, are you able to answer Councilwoman Anthony's questions?
I'm trying to, but I keep getting cut off. I'm not sure you can hear me.
I'm sorry, you are cutting off, but go ahead and give it your best.
Yes. What was the question, Councilwoman?
Yes, I'd like to know, is this a contract for services moving forward?
This is Mr. O'Gara's continuation of his existing contract. Yes, moving forward.
Okay, so
and
it's
we do receive monthly invoice expenses, if any. And Carissa has all that. She's probably having difficulty coming on as well, and I'm probably going to.
She's trying to cut back in. Are they both gone now? This Zoom isn't as perfect, huh?
Number ends in 300.
Whose number ends in 300? Is that someone from the Water Board, perhaps? 6300?
Yes. This is Carissa.
Press star 6.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me
No
now?
worries.
I apologize.
Carissa,
Yes.
while you can,
Yes.
could you explain this contract, the review of the contract that's before this committee, and make your recommendation, please?
Yes, so we recommend that you approve this contract. Yara performs basic legal services as board advisor. However, there are some extended services such as purchasing, reviewing contracts and purchasing issues, giving legal advice about claims, defending Providence Water against lawsuits, land acquisition matters that are beyond the scope of his work as the legal advisor. And these services have historically been performed by the firm of the board legal advisor because we believe that this is the most cost-effective and efficient practice. You know, the legal advisor is there at our meetings. He's aware of our policies and procedures. He has a full understanding of our operations. And he's at all meetings and can be advised by the board. We think it makes the most sense to have these extended services performed by the board legal advisor's firm. And we're requesting to continue this practice. They're billed hourly, and they bill us hourly, and we review all bills.
Great. Councilwoman Anthony, do you have any more questions?
No, yes, I do. So the 150, is that the money that's billed against? I mean, how do you reconcile the bills that you're receiving, the hourly bills? I mean, how does that work?
So, you know, we have our approval for the award for 150, and we just process the bills until we get to that point where we reach that amount, and then we'll come back to the board and we'll ask them to review the matter again.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions while it's working?
I'm trying to come back myself. Are you all set, Councilwoman Anthony?
I am.
Any
Thank you.
questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions from my committee members. Madam Auditor, do you have any concerns? Has this gone through the Board of Contract and Supply?
It was submitted to the Board of Contract and Supply, and it was referred to full council because it is a purported sole source approval of a contract. But at least they are putting the hourly rate on their legal services, which the law department doesn't do. So I don't have any other concerns other than if the committee feels to approve.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this contract. May I have that motion?
Madam Chair, hearing no other questions, I make a motion to approve item number 6.
Motion made by Councilman Narducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The item passes. Thank you very much, Water Supply Board. Thank you, Carissa. Good to see you on the other side of this table.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, you guys.
All right, so that one's done. Madam Clerk, could you kindly read item 7 into the record?
Communication from the Honorable Mayor dated May 5th, 2021, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to Section 302B of the Providence Homeless Charter of 1980, as amended, Ordinance 2017, Chapter 204-4, 8 in Public Law, Chapter 45-60, Sections 1 to 31, passed in 1987, he is this day appointing Stephanie R. Lopes of 15 Mary Avenue, East Providence, Rhode Island, 2914, as the Administrator, Registrar of Vital Statistics, and respectfully submit the same for your approval.
Thank you very much. Is Ms. Lopes with us?
I'm here.
Stephanie, there you are.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Committee on Finance. Before we get started, we should start swearing people in. So Madam Clerk, could you swear in Stephanie Lopes, please?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalty and perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Say your name and
I'm sorry, you cut out.
State your name for the record and your current title.
Stephanie Lopes, and I'm currently the acting licensing administrator.
Wonderful. Okay, before we get started, I have a package of letters. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters each. Oh no, 4 letters. One is long. 4 letters recommending the approval of this appointment. I'd like to entertain a motion, please, to identify these letters of support of Ms. Lopes as Exhibit 19. May I have that motion?
Motion made, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Motion made by Councilman Narducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The letters of support are entered, Exhibit 19. Okay, Ms. Lopes, you are serving in an acting capacity, and I had the pleasure of working with you today in your role, and I want to thank you for the work that you've done so far. You have been appointed by the mayor. Tell us about yourself. I think we all have your resume in front of us, but we'd like to hear about your experience, your background, and tell us about your thoughts and ideas for the office that you are hoping to manage going forward.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Madam. So again, my name is Stephanie. I started working for the city actually about just shy of 5 years ago, originally starting in the mayor's office with the chief of staff, Paul Pollack. There I was able to learn some really great insight about inner workings of the city. I worked closely with departments throughout the entire city and really got knowledge of the functions of day-to-day operations. After about 2 years, I transitioned down into licensing and vitals, where I served as the deputy license administrator. And I've really been able to accomplish a lot of great things so far, such as e-permits and licensing. I've built application portals across multiple departments for better collaboration, for application review and in the issuance of licensing. I've also built great relationships with our local community, our business owners, our residents, and I'm really looking forward and excited to continue this work in a new capacity as the director with the support of council and the administration.
Wonderful. Council members, committee members, do you have any questions? Councilman Narducci.
Madam Chair, more a comment than a question.
Yes, sir.
Stephanie, moving forward, we have not had the relationship that we should have with the past director as council people. We bring a lot of constituent concerns to you guys, and we should be able to deal with the licensing ourselves rather than putting our people out to get down to City Hall, which we all know sometimes can be a headache. I always thought that was a position that 2 years ago could have been filled by yourself. And I appreciate the outreach that you do have with the council. And I would just appreciate if you can keep it that way. It would be an honor of mine to support you in this position. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Narducci. Committee members, any other thoughts? No thoughts? Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's great for me to have this opportunity to speak on behalf of Stephanie. And that's because I had a personal experience and contact with her regarding one of my constituents, and her willingness to help, her customer service displays and experience. It's really what we need. So because of that, I rise in support of her appointment. I think she did a wonderful job. Just be willing to help out when the business people come to us for concerns and they're looking for the help that they need. It's great to know that there's someone there that will rise to help them out and guide them through help them navigate through the complexity of our system. So I'm in support of this appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem Espinal. Ms. Lopes, I would just like to say I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you. So much to your credit, you've obviously have impressed people along the way in the work that you've done for the city of Providence. I'm also thrilled you're a Providence College graduate, so nice to know that you spend a little time in the 5th Ward. That's really exciting. But to expand upon Councilman Narducci's comments, the Board of Licensing is a really critical department and function for our neighborhoods. The council is a body sees ourselves as the advocates for the community, advocates for the neighborhoods of the city of Providence. And the Board of Licensing intersects greatly with the businesses and operations in our ward. So the council gets involved when there's a problem presented by a restaurant or a business that isn't upholding their end of the bargain, if you will. So we do get involved quite often in various areas of the city with licensing. The other thing, I know that through the pandemic there was encouraging online applications. I'd like you to work on trying to make sure that you're communicating with the council people. I know emails are sent out regularly, but if there's a problem in the ward that emerges, that you're in a neighborhood that you recognize as a concern, I'd like you to try to tap into the knowledge base of the council person so that they're aware of it and can help work through the issues. I think that's a good practice, and I think that's kind of the root of what Councilman Narducci was trying to get at. It shouldn't be as sterile as it is. You know, just like somebody I know recently went online and applied for an application. You know, they got it online. There were some questions, concerns, and in the end, nobody knew that they were licensed. Anyway, it's important that your office communicates through the council office as well. So it sounds like you've got wonderful relationships already. So just, you know, if you could try to expand that and recognize that collaboratively we can serve the city in a great way. So those are my only comments. I wish you well. I think you're doing a great job. And as I say, I've already had the pleasure. I met with you today, and you were absolutely wonderful and brought to the table some great initiative and ingenuity. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to recommend approval of Ms. Lopes to the full council. May I have that motion?
Madam Chair, to be an honor of mine to approve item number 7, Ms. Stephanie Lopes.
Motion made by Councilman Narducci. Do I have a second? Councilwoman Castillo makes that a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Unanimously approved. Recommend approval of Stephanie Lopes to the full council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stephanie, I would encourage you to call each of the council people. It'll be your recommendation will be go before the full council for a vote. Reach out, make sure that you're connected to them, okay? And good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's 567. Okay, Madam Auditor. Let us call, oh, Stephanie, stay with us. We're going to call the Board of Licensing for our ongoing budget deliberations, if that's okay. Stephanie, since we are on you, we might as well continue on. So, Madam Silveria, are you with us?
I am.
Yep, we got to enter exhibit. Okay. See, we knew there was something we had to do. That's why we were all looking at each other. We skipped a step here. So most the clerks, they're on top of everything, and the auditor. So let's enter Board of Licensing presentation package prepared by the Finance Department with the assistance, I'm sure, of the individual departments. We have a summary report from Finance. We have a 3-bar report. We have an organization chart, as well as an annual operations report. So may I entertain a motion to identify this packet as Exhibit 20? So Councilwoman Castillo makes that motion, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. So we have the exhibit. Let's swear in Ms. Lopes. Madam Clerk, if you kindly would do that.
Can you please raise your right hand, Stephanie? You under penalty and perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Okay. And your name and title for the record?
Stephanie Lopes, acting licensing administrator.
Okay, wonderful. Ms. Silveria. Oh, gotta swear you in too, I'm sorry. You know what, why don't we swear everybody in? We're gonna swear everybody in.
Everybody raise your right hand.
Everybody that's gonna present.
You swear the penalty and perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
We're good. Everybody needs to say their name though, for the record.
Sarah Silveria, Finance Director.
Crystal Lindberg, Finance Director.
Okay, are we good? All right. Okay, Director Silveria, please give us a summary of the department's finances.
My pleasure, Madam Chair. Tonight we have Bureau of License before you with Acting Director, soon to be Director Stephanie Lopes. I'm going to briefly read in the budget summary for this department. Revenue is budgeted at $1,300,400 for fiscal 22, which is an increase of $47,874. And the change is due to anticipated increase in licensing revenue as the city recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving to salaries, total salaries for fiscal 22 are budgeted at $452,532. It's a decrease of $2,797 from the 21 budget, and this is due to a reduction in longevity expense related to the departure of some of the department staff during the fiscal year. Total benefits for 22 is budgeted at $300,694, a decrease of $8,121 from the budget in 21. And services has been budgeted at $104,700, a decrease of $28,050 from the 21 budget. And the decrease is due to a reduction in the number of days per week that the licensing board will convene during fiscal 22. Supplies has been budgeted at $1,800 for fiscal year 22, which is an increase of $400. And this change is due to an increase in office supplies as requested by the department. There's no capital budget in this department. And I'm happy to pause here for any questions that you might have of Ms. Lopes.
Thank you, Director. Ms. Lopes, do you want to tell us what's going on in this department? Notice you have is it one? Oh, a couple of vacant positions. So tell us about your...
Madam Chair, quick question.
Councilman Ducci.
Quick question for...
Go ahead.
Quick question for Sarah. Can I just get a quick explanation on what are services?
Sure. So services in this budget, their fees not classified. It's postage, advertising, some printing expense, legal expense, repairs to office equipment, and some miscellaneous expenses.
Okay, and then supplies would be?
Thank you.
Supplies is just office supplies. Paper and things like that, pens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, Ms. Lopes, let's talk about your department. I know that there was some automation that's happened. I don't know how involved you were in that. With that, tell us about what you're going to be working on, what your challenges are. And I mentioned you've got some vacant spots. I don't think you're asking for any new positions here. So give us a little summary of your department, what your needs are, and talk about your vacant spots.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. So right now, as you know, we've constantly been trying to push for our e-licensing system that I piloted, I'd say about 2 years ago, starting with entertainment licenses. Second, we started with the mobile food permits, and we're trying to work, have been working with Ivan and IT to figure out how we can best make all of our licenses automated, where the permit can just be either uploaded via QR code or scanned to their mobile devices, et cetera, et cetera. We've come a long way over the last year. Given COVID, in the lack of events going on, I had a lot of time to work on the back end of stuff. It's not perfect. So that next steps are kind of polishing all of these applications and permits that they're there, the structure's there. We just need to fine tune, make it a little more accessible and reader friendly for our constituents. Some people have mentioned it's a little lengthy here and there, so we try to cut back what we need legally on there for attestations and things of that sort. So next steps, I'm really looking forward to cleaning all of that up, making the process run a little smoother. And as you mentioned earlier, really working with our applicants to get a sense of what they need from us. And in that way, it's not, as you had mentioned, someone who wasn't sure if they had a license or a permit or not, but to kind of avoid situations like that. So that's our main focus here. My main focus going into this next fiscal year is working closely with IT to get that done. I've also done a lot of work with integrating other departments into the applications. For example, fire department, building and zoning, controller's office. That way we're all kind of on one page here, and it's one less hoop somebody has to jump through to, do I have a clearance? Did I pass building? So there's been a few glitches along the way, but just I really want to focus on cleaning that up and moving forward in that direction. As for the 2 vacancies that I am looking, I'm working actually with HR to have these posted and filled as soon as possible. One of which is the license inspector, and the second is a clerk in vitals.
Say that again, a clerk what?
Vital records.
Oh, in vital, okay. Have those positions been vacant for a long time?
The vacant clerk, what had happened was the senior clerk had transitioned to a different department in the city. So then that first clerk moved up, and then this position has been vacant for, we were actually just about to fill it the week before the pandemic hit.
What about the inspector? I think that position's been vacant a while.
That has been vacant. I am looking to fill that. The inspector we have now is great. He's phenomenal. As you can see in a lot of line items on our revenues over here, we decreased a few items like entertainment, motor vehicle repair, expecting, the pandemic or things like that to slow it down. But Jose is fabulous. He's really been out there working hard, I'm sure, as you know, with motor vehicle, and those accounts are actually generating more revenue than we hoped to think. So I'm looking to fill that and hopefully find another inspector as great as Jose.
Can I ask, the one inspector that you have, what are the hours that inspector works?
It's currently 8:30 to 4:30.
8:30 to 4:30. So what is their job? What are they responsible for inspecting?
311, any complaints that come in from 311 that we receive, Jose will go out and inspect. Complaints that come into the office via email, just minor nuisance mitigation, those typically get handled by licensing enforcement. He also uses, we have a few tools that we work off of from the state, their Department of Health licensing lookup, prior to that, the tobacco lookup. So he'll kind of cross-check, and if there's Providence businesses that have state food businesses licenses who don't have our license, he will go out to the establishment, inform them on how to apply, more informative approach the first time we reach out, and then potentially a cease and desist if there's no cooperation.
So who inspects or who goes into the restaurants and clubs during the evenings?
Our licensing.
How does that happen? Sorry.
No, it's okay. So the majority of liquor establishments or the nightclub operations, those complaints get, I contact our licensing enforcement unit. They go out, they work nights, typically till at least 2, 3 in the morning, if not later. Those complaints get directed to them. And
they report whatever the issues are back to your department?
Yes.
Do they take
yes, and it either again, is an informative education on, hey, you need to apply for an entertainment license, or it's a violation, which they will type up a report and then send it over to our office.
Committee members, any questions? Anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts, comments? Council members, anything? Okay, I think we're good. Do I have a recommendation on this at all? No? Oh, auditor, do you have any thoughts or concerns on this?
Nope, this is the ideal department. Revenue is up, expenses are down. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Bill.
So Ms. Lopes, actually, when I asked the auditor earlier if she had any concerns with your department, she said it was the poster child. So, you're in good shape, you're off to a good start, and we wish you well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, we have, we're gonna do healthy communities and human services. And we have an exhibit, so let's, swear in, who's going to speak on that matter? Who do we have here is going to speak on that? Who is it?
Can you please raise your right hand?
Oh, Rachel Newman Green, okay. Want to raise hands, whoever is here to speak on that from there? Okay, we got you, Rachel. Is there anyone else?
Yes, Alex Gonzalez.
Okay, we got you both.
Okay.
All right, great.
You swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your names and titles for the record.
I'm Rachel Newman Green. I'm Deputy Director of the Healthy Communities Office.
And I'm Alexandra Gonzalez. I'm the Fiscal Coordinator of the Healthy Communities Office.
Okay. All righty. Ms. Silveria, Director Silveria, do you want to, do we add the exhibit already? We do the exhibit? Okay, we got to enter the exhibit first. Exhibit 21, it contains the Finance Department summary, financial summary of department, the 3-box report. We have an org chart that was presented. We have an annual operating summary report. Let's call this Exhibit 21. May I have that motion, committee members?
Motion made, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Councilman Ducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, so we have the exhibit in. Now we can talk about it. And Director Silveria, take it away.
Okay, next up tonight we have Human Services, Healthy Communities Office. There's no revenue generated in this department. Moving on to expenses, salaries are budgeted in fiscal 22 at $398,817. That's an increase of $60,733. And this increase is due to the elimination of work share savings and 3% for 1033 and non-union. Total benefits for fiscal 22 are $192,340, an increase of $4,029 from the 21 budget. Services in the Healthy Communities Office are budgeted at $1,541,635. This is an increase of $582,202 over the 21 budget. And this change is due to increased contractual services costs associated with the implementation of diversion programming in conjunction with the Public Safety Department. This increase has been mitigated by a reduction in program expense and a reallocation of supply expense that was previously budgeted under service lines. Supplies in this department is budgeted at $30,900, an increase of $3,350, and this increase is due to moving expenses previously in the services line to office supplies and stationery. And the food budget in this department has been reduced, and there's no capital budget in this department. And I'll pause here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Rachel or Alexander, you want to talk about the department at all? What you're working on? What your concerns are?
I'm honored to, Chairwoman. Thank you. And I'm presenting tonight in place of our Director, Lori Moise-Sears, who is on a long-awaited COVID honeymoon. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, right. What a time. So as you all know, as you can imagine, it has been a heck of a year for everybody, especially for anybody involving any health concerns. So it's been a real transitional year for our department. And as you all can imagine, a lot of the plans that we had at the beginning of the fiscal year shifted dramatically to address a lot of the emerging health needs that came up with the pandemic. So fortunately, we have been the finances of our department have been addressed and managed very capably by Alex Gonzalez. So I want to thank her for the work, and a lot of the good work that you see here is really due to her vigilance. Our department, as I think many folks may have heard before, we take a health in all policies approach, which means that we integrate health-related policies across all city departments. In the past year, a lot of our operations and programming that we had anticipated, of course, got railed by the pandemic, and we shifted a good amount of the operations of our department into addressing emergency food needs. So in coordination with other departments and the school department and the parks department and multiple community partners, we participated in and helped coordinate the distribution of almost 1 million meals to those in need during the course of the pandemic, many of which went out through senior service centers and other churches, ministries, other community partnerships, including the parks department, the school department, everyone else. So that was a great success that we did not expect, of course, going into this year. I will say a success, but of course, in response to community need. In the course of that, we had to adapt our senior services significantly because so many of those are activities that are carried out in person. So we had to really shift and successfully shifted those to be able to abide by social distancing rules and do some things remotely, which had to, some of the work in that, of course, was getting a lot of seniors sort of up and being able to operate via remote services. We've, through all of this, also continued our historic work on mental health needs in the community, including continuing to convene the Mayor's Coalition on Behavioral Health, which, as everything, moved to a remote meeting. But we consistently have a strong participation of 30+ community members in that. And through that work, we also have done a significant amount of contracted mental health work throughout the year. Our team was also able to leverage over $1 million in grant funding to combat issues including tobacco and alcohol and other substance misuse throughout the community, and both through youth and families. And a lot of that, again, was shifting to remote working in that community serving environment. Through this also, we have been working on convening stakeholders and working hard to address issue of overdose and other related health concerns in downtown that I'm sure many of you are aware of. And one thing that I know members of this community are aware of is our work on the behavioral health and social service crisis response. So I did want to thank the members of this community for the support for that work and for the RFP process, for that planning process along the way. So we, through the course of the past year, successfully developed and issued an RFP for a planning process to develop this crisis response system. We sort of received 5 proposals that were reviewed by a panel of 10 internal and external partners. And that process finally kicked off. We had our first project management meeting with the Providence Center, who will be leading that planning process at the end of last week. As you know, due to budget and pandemic and just making sure we were doing the process right and getting all of the community and council input, the process started later than we anticipated. So we are starting it now. Initially, we had anticipated that it would have started back in March, but we are now anticipating that that process will go through November, at which point we will then step into the implementation. We continue to have a host of community and other city stakeholders that we work with to tackle large public health issues, and school department and other folks are good partners in that, ensuring that our youth have reproductive health supplies in the schools. We have continued to work on access to doula certification opportunities in Providence for maternal health, and especially looking at maternal and child health in communities of color. We have continued to provide mental health first training to community members and stakeholders to increase community knowledge on mental health response. And we continue to work with the firehouses throughout Providence to support safe stations, which are opportunities for folks who are struggling with addiction to, at a moment's notice, go and receive help with that. So our office, as I think many of you know, works really strongly through partners, and we really depend on so many community members and community agencies throughout the city to help us continue to best serve the health needs of the community and enable us to be as flexible as we've needed to be in this past year.
Wonderful. Committee members, any questions? Councilwoman Anthony.
Rachel, thank you so much, and Alexandra, for all your excellent work during the COVID. I can't thank you enough. You guys did a tremendous job. My question is on the diversion program. So how, as a city councilwoman, or any of us city council members, how can we participate and keep up with how the diversion program is going to be designed? What will be our opportunity to have some input in that process?
So the very first steps that the Providence Center is going to be taking is convening a stakeholder committee that will be representatives both, you know, from people with lived experience with behavioral health and lived experience with the criminal justice system, as well as other community members, service providers, that sort of thing. So that's going to be sort of the steering committee. They'll still be steering it. And then throughout it also, there'll be a number of public forums and also opportunities that they're going to do to reach out to get other input. So I definitely, we were actually just talking this week about sort of our rollout and communication strategy and making sure that the community and everybody is aware of the process and aware of opportunities, both engage in and learn about what's happening in the process as it goes along. So there will definitely be focus groups and community conversations all along the way.
Thank you. Good. Thank you.
All set, Councilwoman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much, Rachel. Can you, first of all, you've made a great presentation. I'm amazed that you were able to wrap all that up in a salient way.
Thank you. It's a lot.
You should give lessons, a little tutorial on how to present your department functions. So good job in that regard. I have a couple of questions, and I'm sure you touched upon them, but I maybe missed some things. I know that you get a lot of grants. You certainly have a host of partners. So before we get into the grants, I just want to go over the ones that are like Partnership for Success, Regional Prevention and Task Force, Downtown Providence Overdose Hotspot, Bailey Baxter Reconstruction. So I'd like to go into all of those and just ask you to provide an explanation. But before we go there, could you explain our Director Silveria or perhaps Alexandria Gonzalez? I don't know who would best explain it to me, but item account 53420, which is contractual services, there's a big bump in that. Budget last year was 620 and it's now 1.22 million. So what's going on there, and how do you account for the increase? If you could just explain that.
Right.
Whoever wants to.
Okay. Thank you, Chairwoman. So that is directly related to the diversion work. Because we were anticipating fiscal year 21 to be just the planning phase, we didn't need the full 600, well, almost 600,000 additional funding for fiscal year 22. So while we submit our request for fiscal year 22, we were still figuring out this would be the implementation and planning phase. But since planning is dipping into fiscal year 22, it'll be both planning and also implementation. That's what the big bump is for, because we really anticipated it to be the implementation phase of the diversion program.
So planning and implementation, is that what you said?
Yes.
1.2 million.
So yeah, the big bump is about 600,000.
600,000 bump, yes.
Yeah, that's for diversion work. Yes, behavioral health diversion.
So we haven't yet done the planning process that will tell us the details of what that funding will be used for, but we know that we want to start implementing it this year, so we need to be able to hold it in our budget. So the plan is that once we go through the planning process, that will lay out for us what the right use of those funds are. And then we'll, of course, go through the regular purchasing process.
So so there isn't a plan now. You're going to be putting together a plan, and you anticipate, how did you get to that amount, I guess? That's kind of where my questioning is going.
So we kind of have a flexible plan. We did do a quick little breakdown of what that would look like. About 150,000 would go to homeless support services is what we anticipate. Another, I believe, 300,000 would be specifically just for the diversion work. And then there's some other funds that we anticipate for needle exchange. I have this written down there. 1 second.
I think one of the things is that we looked at model programs in other cities that run similar programs and kind of looked at what the right scale was, and then also recognizing that this is going to be a first year and that we weren't going to be that we were going to be probably rolling some things out gradually. So I think that was really based on kind of models that other cities run. And then the other factor that I'll add to that is that there's such national interest in this issue that we're actually anticipating that we're anticipating being able to access significantly more funding for that work. There's state interest in funding the work ongoing, and then there's also some foundation work and some national funding sources. So I think our planning for that would be that piece of what would be the city's contribution, but in fact, it seems like we're anticipating to be able to sort of leverage those funds to access a significantly large number of dollars from other sources too.
Thank you. Madam Auditor, do you have?
Rachel, if you could go into what else the line item covers. So about 600 is covering the diversion program, but what's the other 600 for, if you don't mind? I think that's...
I can go into that. So I have them listed here. We anticipated 150 for homeless support services, 100,000 for safe stations, and 100,000 for other supplies. So Narcan, needle exchange, other, fentanyl testing strips. So other like miscellaneous supplies related to substance misuse and prevention work. So that's just a rough estimate that we put into our contractual service breakdown. I don't know if you received the fee schedules that we submit to finance, but that is outlined in there.
Okay. I was just trying to clarify. I think she was wondering where the 1.2 came from, not 6, but thank you very much.
We're going to look at that, but thank you very much for that explanation. So now let's talk about Partnership for Success. Someone explain that to me. What do you guys do there? And these are all grant-funded programs, correct? Partnership for Success, Regional Prevention, Downtown Providence Overdose Hotspot, and Bailey Baxter.
Sure. I'll start with Partnership for Success. So that is a national grant from SAMHSA that is very competitive, and we are really excited to, in this past year, have been awarded this five-year grant. So that grant focuses on youth alcohol and tobacco prevention. So that is what enabled us to bring on in this past year a new program coordinator, Tanya Gilbert, who's the one who's really moving that work forward. So it's really exciting because, like I said, it's a competitive national grant, and it's not often you get a 5-year grant of that size either. So
first time you've ever gotten it? First time we've ever gotten it?
I do believe so. Yes. Yeah.
And the amount was. I'm sorry.
Yes.
What was the amount?
It's 300,000 for 5 years, so continuous.
300,000 over 5 years, or 300,000? Oh wow, that's a nice grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy about it.
All right. What else?
The regional grant is a grant that we've had at this point for many years. I don't even know what the first year we had that for that was, but the central part of that grant is to be convening the Mayor's Council on Behavioral Health. So that is convening upwards of 30 some partners every month to look at behavioral health issues throughout the city. And also there are sub-grants through that to address identified behavioral health priorities.
Okay. Downtown Providence overdose hotspot.
Downtown Providence overdose is a grant from the Department of Health that is $150,000 a year. We're currently in year 2 of a 3-year grant, and that is focused on the statewide effort to reduce overdose, with downtown Providence being identified as one of 3 spots in Providence where really this is a prevailing concern. So through that work, we convene folks specifically concerned around overdose, but other health-related issues around downtown Providence, and have been working with them and the Department of Health to address those issues. So one of the most prominent things that we have been doing with that is we have a partnership with Project Weber Renew, who are downtown in Kennedy Plaza 5 days a week, providing basic health needs, because we really recognize that folks who are at highest risk of overdose have a whole host of other basic health needs, and you can't really address any one without addressing the others. So there's they are working in downtown Providence 5 days a week, referring people to housing services, referring people to recovery services, referring people to social services, as well as providing PPE, providing Narcan, and providing other needs downtown.
Wonderful. Okay. That leaves Bailey Baxter.
Bailey Baxter. Bailey Baxter is, so one of the many ways that we intertwine with other departments is that we have been working with the Parks Department and tangentially with the school department on a Green Schoolyards initiative. And it's really about reshaping our community's schoolyards to be green and healthy spaces. We were very fortunate year before last to have gotten $612 and something $1,000 from Rhode Island Housing, specifically focused on Bailey School, and we work with the Parks Department to roll the adjacent Baxter Park into that, to really think about how that can be a reshaped green space for the school's use, but also for the entire community's use. So that's that, believe it or not, the $600,000 is but a piece. There's also Parks Department funding going into that. There's going to be some capital improvement plan funding going into that, because one of the challenges with working with sites like that is a huge challenge is the environmental conditions and the cost of the environmental conditions cleanup to really make it into a usable and safe and healthy space for children and families to use is significant. But I am really excited to, we'll be breaking ground on that. Looks like in September at this point, but it's going to be amazing. And I really look forward to sharing that with everybody, because it's going to be sort of a new model for how we're hoping to integrate park space and school space throughout the city.
So you collaborate with the Parks Department and the school department on this project. Is that technical assistance? Do you provide the dollars? Is it a, how do you work? What's the collaboration look like? Because I would imagine that they provide technical expertise and you provide the grant dollars.
So yes, and another strong partner in that is the Nature Conservancy. One of the challenges that we have is our department doesn't obviously have the capacity to take on large-scale construction projects or to do landscape design and that sort of thing. And Parks Department is really just about the only department in the city that has that capacity. So partnering with them really makes us able to do things that we wouldn't be otherwise able to at all. So we are doing the grant management and some project management, and the Nature Conservancy is really doing a lot of the larger sort of project management, construction management work, and Parks Department has lent their landscape design skills to it. So they have actually done the designs and are doing a lot of the pricing out and the costing of the work, and are really integral also to making sure that this space is integrated into the park space that is right across the street. So that's kind of where the partnership comes in.
Nice. And so obviously there's grant management responsibilities. So is that something that, do you have like a fiscal manager? Is that Alexandria's responsibility?
Yes.
Okay. So you're busy, Alexandra.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, do you have grants that cover salaries?
Yes.
Okay. So what grants provide salary, salaries? They all,
Partnership for Success grants, the Regional Task Force grant, and the Downtown Providence Hotspot grant provide salaries.
Bailey Baxter doesn't?
No, it's just.
And is Bailey Baxter a one-time,
Yes.
612 and change? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, all righty. New positions. Can you talk about the, well, you know what, before we go there, let's talk about your salaries. You've got some increases, and they're mostly grade increases.
Yes.
A2 to A4 for your bus driver, grade increase A20 to A22 for the Director of Healthy Communications? Communities, Healthy Communities, sorry. Deputy Director, A15 to A16. What's going on? What's going on with the grade changes? Are they at the top of the prior grades? And, you know, why are you changing the grades? No?
Alex, would you like to?
I can speak to that. So for the bus driver positions, what we noticed for senior services is they have been having a hard time finding a driver that would fit that has a CDL license, because the CDL license, those folks usually start at a higher rate, and currently with the A2 grade, it just isn't competitive enough to get a staff person that would fit in that office. So we decided that bumping it up would make it a little bit more competitive and appeal to a person that has a CDL license and is well experienced.
And that, excuse me, that position is vacant right now?
It is, yes. From my understanding, when we were on the essential spend, that was one of the things we chose not to fill, just to keep our salary budget tight. But I know that the senior services department really does need a bus driver. It helps get seniors moving, and they transport foods, and any seniors that are experiencing isolation don't have transport to get food or go to the doctor's appointments. That is a really good resource for seniors in Providence. So we would like to have a driver back.
So you're basically saying in order to get a bus driver with a CDL, you need to pay a higher range, and, okay, all right. So talk about the Director of Healthy Communities, A20 to an A22.
So with the increase of our budget, it looks like we're going to have to compensate the director as well as the deputy director, just because it is an additional work that they'll be managing, and it's.
I think the other piece of it is that our former director worked closely with the HR department and to standardize our office's positions. And one of the issues that arose was that the director and deputy director were not paid at a rate that is, we're not at the same rate as other directors and deputy directors. So that was a part of an effort sort of across the department to because our office is so grant funded, we've always operated a little weirdly, and we wanted to be a little less weird and actually be more in sync with how things operate throughout the city. And so did a lot of work to synchronize our job descriptions and our pay rates and everything with the way that things operate in other departments.
Okay, I don't think you're weird at all. So a portion of that salary is grant funded, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what percentage?
For the deputy director position, she is on 70% towards the hotspot grant. And for the director position, she They are on 10% to regional and 10% to hotspot.
Okay, and you manage all of that, make sure you're accounting to the grant.
Yes.
Okay, how about the deputy director of HCO? That's going A5 to A16.
And that's the same situation with the director, likewise, that the deputy director wasn't at the same pay grade as other deputy directors, and so it was changed to synchronize that better with city.
Is more of the salary coming from grant funded for that position? Grants?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That position is the one that is filled, that is covered by 70% to the hotspot grant.
70%?
7, yes.
Is fringe covered in the grant?
Yep.
Okay. Is that vacant, that spot?
No, that's me.
No, that's Rachel.
Okay, Rachel. All right, I'm sorry, I neglected to ask, is the director of healthy, obviously, that is filled, okay.
Yeah.
All righty, thank you on that. Talk about new positions.
Sure, I can
You've
talk
got a
about that a
few
little
here.
bit. Sure. So the new positions that we are proposing are in coordination with our expansion of the behavioral health work. So as that work ramps up, we are realizing that we will need to bring some experienced people on to be project manager and project coordinators of that work. So those are the two that you see there. And I don't know, I think we discussed maybe previously, I don't know if you have it before you hear the other new positions that we have proposed are dependent on the ARA funding. They would be around expanding our food access work, but I think that's not city budget, as I understand it. That, ARPA, that is a separate budget conversation than this one. So we would be talking about bringing some folks on to do that work, and then within the city budget, bringing folks on to really continue moving on and expanding behavioral health work.
Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new positions. Does that match your request? And I don't have, I'll wait to answer that.
All right, let me get them in front of me so I can see the new positions. Okay. I believe now a number of these actually are, I'm trying to see which page that I'm on of all of these pages that are in front of me.
Would it help if I read them off to you? Would that help?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Data and evaluation manager.
Yes.
Data and evaluation manager, program manager, behavioral health, program coordinator, behavioral health, program manager, human services, and a program coordinator, human services.
The program manager, human services, and the program coordinator, human services, I believe are for ARA or the ARPA funding. So at the time, we didn't know that they shouldn't be written.
If I can step in, these positions would only be filled if they were 100% covered by grants. So we requested that they be allowed, and that way, if we were able to use grants, we would have a position to fill, and it would exist in our structure.
Right.
Okay.
So
you say these positions, which ones? Director, all of them?
Yes, any, if you're looking at the org chart, anything with an asterisk is only filled with 100% grant funding. So it would be a program coordinator, the data and evaluation coordinator, the outreach coordinator, I'm not going to say this word right, but
that's okay.
Epidemiologist.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, and I would say that, yes, and so there are a number of them that we have as positions, but right, we don't currently have the grant funding or intention to fill those positions until we have them funded.
Okay. Madam Auditor, do you have a question?
Sarah, in the personnel supplement, there are 2 data and evaluation managers. They both say grant funded, but one is 100% funded by the city.
Right, and the second one would only be if it was grant funded. It could have just been an error when we were putting the personnel supplement together too. We'll look at that.
There should be 2. So there should be 2 then, correct?
I think,
Data and evaluation manager. I don't.
Yep.
I know.
Okay, so there's one that's requested, and then there's one that would only be filled should the grant funding become available for that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Do we have job descriptions for these new positions? Have they been crafted?
Yes.
Could you kindly send those to the auditor for us, please? Just so that we have them with your file, if anybody has any questions about what they're doing. Okay, that helps very much. We appreciate that. Committee members, does anybody have any questions? Okay, you folks are very, very busy. I'm very impressed at all that you do. There's a lot going on, so thank you very much for your service to the city. With that, I think we're good. We've entered the exhibits, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time and wonderful responses to the committee tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. Put my package together, sorry. Okay, that leaves, last but not least, we have arts, culture, and tourism, and we've called Stephanie Fortunato to testify. Is Stephanie with us? I see Stephanie.
Hi, good evening, Chairwoman.
How are you this
Good.
evening? Okay, do you have anyone else that needs to testify with you? Are you it?
I'm it tonight.
Okay.
The entertainment.
Awesome. Okay, we saved the best to last. All right, so let's call this matter before we start. Well, why don't we get you sworn in?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and your name and title for the record?
Stephanie Fortunato, Director of the Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism, and I use she, her pronouns.
Thank you very much. And we have a package provided by our fabulous finance department summarizing the department, revenue, expenditure, salary, benefit, service, supplies, and capital. We have an org chart. We have a 3-bar chart. And we also have an annual operations budget provided by the department. And I'd like to call this package Exhibit 22. May I have that motion?
Motion made, Madam Chair.
Motion made, Councilman Narducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have our exhibit entered, so we can talk about it. So why don't we ask our Director, Silveria, if you could kindly run us through the finances of this department.
Absolutely. Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism has a revenue budget of $139,000 for fiscal 22. This is an increase of $18,000 over the 21 budget. Moving on to salaries. Salaries are budgeted at $397,649, an increase of $69,910 over the 21 budget. This increase is due to the elimination of work-share savings and the 3% for 33 and non-union. Benefits are budgeted in fiscal 22 at $247,484. This is an increase of $42,517. Services in fiscal 22 are budgeted at $1,045,300, an increase of $33,750 over the 21 budget. This change is due to an increase in contractual services that will enable the city to host additional events throughout the year and increased funding for grants to local arts, hospitality, and tourism initiatives. Supplies will remain consistent at $700, and there is no capital budget in this department. I'm happy to pause here for some questions.
Thank you, Director. So, Director Fortunato, do you want to tell us what's going on in your department, what your needs are, and then we can drill down on some of the questions we might have in the budget. But let's talk about your department.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and councilors. We're really pleased to present our plan and vision for the department, as well as some of the challenges in this moment. I don't want to spend too much time looking back. However, I do want to acknowledge where we have been, a year of adaptations and pivots, reckoning, learnings, and unlearnings. And I want to recognize the truly hardworking staff of the Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism, who have worked so hard despite all of the challenges, uncertainty, and work share to find new ways ways to innovate our programs and to engage and support constituents. Some of the highlights over the past year, I think, come down to our core functions, which we were able to preserve in new ways. Our special events work became so important to stopping the spread of the virus, and also has been a way that we could help catalyze the city's recovery. We provided deep technical assistance to event producers, large and small, and we began to advise new agencies across the state, really, in ways to really produce successful events in public spaces and in private for a short time as part of the emergency response. On our programs, you know, some of our beloved annual programs were unable to move forward because of the public health guidelines, but this asked us to innovate what we had always done. We presented new hybrid programs. We found ways to expand the cultural traditions that we celebrated as a community. And we found funding through Commerce and others to expand some of the wintertime programming during the pause when it was so necessary to provide hope and joy. And so those were great opportunities for us to think in new ways about the work that we do. We were also able to carry through on our local match requirements to grant funders. So we worked last year, we wrapped up a multi-year project funded by the Kresge Foundation with a creative community health worker training that started just in the very weeks before the pandemic shut everything down, and that moved online. And then we embedded 5 artists in community-based residencies, and their work really was also transformed by the pandemic, but this was deep and impactful work at the intersection of art, public health, economic development, and really our prosperity. And it was in many ways a springboard for so much thinking about the possibilities of integrating arts and culture across city government. Now we are in a moment of emergence. And so ACT, we are continuing to prioritize work that supports our city's economic and cultural recovery. We are working with partners across city government and beyond to align strategy and to leverage all of the available resources in order to make investments in the creative sector, which has been so negatively impacted by the disruption in operations. The department will continue to innovate our administrative functions and practices in response to the unfolding crisis, aggregating resources and seeking new opportunities to build equity, capacity, and resiliency for the city's creative workforce. The budget that we have submitted deepens partnerships and public programs that activate public spaces. We set high standards for improved customer service in our delivery of those city services, and trying to create pathways for actionable public policy to advance the community-driven cultural plan, which we'll be releasing later this month. After a year of monitoring safe distancing, ACT staff is eager to support the expanded use of our public spaces to bring back those annual programs and to find new ways to infuse arts, culture, and creativity across the work of city government and find new ways to bring community members together. Some of the highlights when I look to the year ahead that I just want to share with you. In our work to be the liaison for the creative sector, we will be releasing that cultural plan. So last year we had a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, which allowed us to convene the cultural sector starting in about August and going through the fall. And we looked at creative economic development, arts education. We thought about individual artists and our creative workforce, the visibility of the creative sector, and art and well-being, a really resonant topic for thinking about ways in which our creative sector can help the city move forward. And so we'll be looking over the next year to take the strategies and recommendations that the community generated and to move those into investments, into initiatives and new programs. I'm also excited to say that we are reimagining PVD Fest. And so this year, PVD Fest will take a new form. Since 2015, this has really been concentrated in the downtown area largely. This year, this summer, we will be able to bring PVD Fest to neighborhoods, and we'll be able to have more events, possibly with smaller people, although with our reemergence, we'll see what is happening with people's interest in coming to events. But we're really looking forward to finding ways to engage our local artists that we had to unfortunately disappoint in 2020 when we postponed the festival. We are looking to an in-person event at the end of September at a smaller scale, and then hoping to bring the festival back in June of 2022 to the downtown area with multiple stages. I'm also really excited about our public art program. So in 2018, we released a public art master plan, which outlined 4 trajectories for temporary public art, for artist residencies with community partners and in departments, civic infrastructure projects, and landmark public art. And over the next year, we will be doing installations that really touch each of these areas. And so there are lots of opportunities for us to use public art as a strategy for engagement. So just a couple of highlights when I look ahead that I wanted to just bring to your attention. Our mission is to integrate arts and culture into community life. And so while our department certainly faces some challenges around staff capacity, we believe that this budget will help Providence to retain local jobs, to attract visitors, and generate state and local revenue, and to preserve our identity as the creative capital. Of course, we will continue to seek grants and other opportunities to supplement the resources available, but we thank you for your continued partnership in this work.
Awesome. Okay, hold on just one second. We're having a little technical difficulty here.
Okay.
I just want to, if we could just stand at ease, please. Can everyone hear me, folks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, loud and
So
clear.
we lost our big screen here, so I have to squint. I can see you on a little screen. So we're not quite sure what happened, but we're recording. We see you all, and we seem to have functionality on a laptop. So we will continue, and I apologize for any delay. Councilwoman Anthony, thank you for your patience. I see your hand is up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Stephanie, thank you for all your good work as usual. You've got a great department. I appreciate what you do. My question is on the increase in salaries. What does that due to?
I believe that is due to the work share, but I defer to Sarah on that.
There were no requests in this department, so it's just the work share going away and the 3% for 1033 and non-union.
And then my second question, Stephanie, is your production manager. That's not a new position, correct? It's just vacant?
We made the difficult decision to unfund that position during the last fiscal year as some of those big grants that had helped to subsidize salaries came to a close. And so that position is vacant currently. Like Deputy Director Newman Green, we would hope that this unfunded position will stay in the table so that if there is an opportunity with ARPA funding to rehire, we would move forward with that.
Okay, so that's just a grant funded position, and then you're saying if you get the grant, then you'll fill it. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody else? Any other council members? I have a few questions. Just looking. Did someone else raise their hand? Or is somebody waving at me? Okay. So Director Silveria, you may be able to help me with this one. The director's salary is in the supplement as an A24, but the ordinance is an A24 to A27. There's a range established for that. What's going on there?
I will look into that. If that is a new one, that could be tied to the salary review board report that came out, and trying to put that up to there. But I will get back to you now. Get back to your internal auditor on that range.
Okay, thank you. And then I've got some questions on budget questions on item 53011, rentals not classified. Could you explain what's in that bucket? 53011.
Yep. So these are rentals not classified, are the rentals largely for our public programs. So it includes event rentals like tables and chairs and that sort of thing. We also include film rights in this line. So the movies that are shown in parks, we do need to secure the rights for that. And so that's included in here. We have sanitation services in here. So portable restrooms are included in this line, as well as accommodations that if we need to put up artists who are visiting, ice rental for our holiday program, and a venue rental for one event. So those are included in that line.
Okay, what about 53499, contractual and other services? That's up from last year. What's going on there?
So last year we had received funding from the state of Rhode Island through their Take It Outside fund, and that allowed us to expand our winter holiday programs. We were able to do neighborhood lightings in many of your wards throughout the city, and so we wanted to be able to carry that forward next year. I think that the community was very happy to see those additional holiday events take place. The other part of this is about where we are in the pandemic and the need for additional production support. We are doing in-person programs, but there is a little more tech that is required so that they can also be accessible to an audience who might be experiencing them virtually. So we've moved into the age of live streaming events, which is, as we are doing right here, kind of an amazing opportunity to engage a wider audience.
Wonderful. Did that include the purchase of any equipment, special equipment for those streaming?
No, we would hire a production company to provide services to us.
I just didn't know if we bought the equipment. What about 53500 miscellaneous expense? That's been the same from last year, but what do you use that for?
So honestly, that is largely event-related expenses. When you are doing any event, it's often the day before, the day of that you realize, it's 100 degrees and you need 2 more cases of water. So it becomes the staff reimbursement for those event supplies as well as for our gallery supplies. So it allows us to address those needs in the moment.
Sí, ya yo le dije a Saimi.
Sorry. Okay, folks. Thank you very much for that answer. How about 55125 grant expenditures?
So the grant expenditures have actually been a cornerstone of the Department of Art, Culture, and Tourism since it was created. This is really seed money that we provide to the artist community to allow them to develop their work. It also supports event producers. These are grants between $500 and $4,000. The past year, we restructured our program and we created a more standardized grant process in which we had a panel to help us review those grant applications. But these dollars, although they're sort of modest grants, they really have a significant impact on allowing an artist to move forward and develop their work, to present that work through exhibition or live performance, to help support event producers as well. So they're really a critical part of our cultural vitality and a part into our investments that we make in our creative sector.
Okay. Madam Auditor, do you have any questions on some of those line items that you'd like further clarification on?
No, the miscellaneous expense 53500, the year before last, 2020, it was 61,000 and it went down to 5,000 this year. How are we doing this year with it?
The 61,000 reflects an emergency COVID response. I believe that that was reclassified. That was sanitation services that ACT helped to facilitate for the meal sites.
Okay.
And that was reimbursed by FEMA.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, thank you. All right, on PVD Fest, you've got two of them. You're budgeting two PVD Fests, one in July and then one in June of '22 in this budget. At the tally of $230 for one and $275 for second one. Why are we doing that?
Are you looking at the Schedule C?
I'm looking at my notes.
Okay,
so am I right?
So the actual PVD Fest expenditure in this budget is $275,000. We have engaged, we did an RFP for a producing partner and have engaged First Works as that producing partner. Those funds will be coming from fiscal year 21, and that will support First Works partnership, producing partnership, and their fiscal management of the festival. For the summer programs, we are sort of, we are working within the Eli Performing Arts Series that we have done in the past. We are bringing PVD Fest together with that Performing Arts Series. So we are able to use PVD Fest funds as well as the Eli funds. And this budget does include money for the summer programs. So we are braiding those funds to make the June and July, the June, July, and August programming possible. And then that September event also will be part of the PVD Fest contract, producing partner contract that we have with First Works. The 275 will be used for the June 2022 event. And so that event, which again, we hope will be able to be at a larger scale, will happen sort of right on the heels of our reimagined PVD Fest. But I think that this kind of investment in the creative sector in many ways responds to the real devastation that arts, hospitality, and tourism industries have wrought over the past year. I think we're looking for ways in which we can really work with our local cultural community and to help to not only encourage locals to come back together, but to bring visitors back to Providence. You know, I think you probably know, but the hoteliers and others are very eager for Providence's events to restart. And so we have been in conversations with the hospitality and tourism industry, sort of partners to the arts industries over the past year. And so we've really put together these plans as a way to help to support all of these intersecting industries.
Thank you, Stephanie. So the PVD Fest July that's going to be held in July and September is $230. You're using FY 2021 dollars, so you're paying forward to fund something in this budget, the 2022 budget, is that correct?
So we've engaged First Works with those dollars from 2021, and they are the fiscal manager for PVD Fest. So they will use those funds to support that programming, as well as funds that are received from sponsors, from grants, and from earned revenue.
Okay. So what other expenditures will be associated with the July and September? Are those budgeted in this FY22 budget?
So there are, in this budget, we have dollars for ACT public programs that happen in the summer. I have, there is...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
25,000, yeah.
Maybe I wasn't clear. So you basically paid First Source.
Works.
Is it $230,000 out of last year's budget?
The current
correct?
year. 275,000 out of the current year.
Am I not? I'm
I
probably
think you're
not being
looking
clear.
at an earlier, I think, I will
Okay,
make sure that you
so-
have the correct line that you're looking at.
So you're providing testimony tonight. So for the July, September PVD Fest, you've engaged First Source.
First Works.
And you are, what is it?
First Works. Artworks.
Sorry.
Nope.
First Works, and they are putting on PVD Fest. Is the entire amount going to First Works? The
Yes.
amount is $275 per your testimony tonight, right?
Yes, and then the budget for the fiscal year 22 for PVD Fest is $275,000
Another $275,000.
from fiscal year 22.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna have the auditor drill down on that, please.
Sarah, Crystal, how is she using 21 money for 22 projects?
I will have to talk to Stephanie offline to get clarification on this, and I'm happy to work with you to find out where the funds
I
are
guess-
and what your expenses are related to.
I guess the issue is, you know, you're spending into another year's budget here, $275,000. When was the contract signed?
It was signed last month.
Last month.
And First Works
Okay.
has begun working on the event.
Okay, so we're gonna just, can you provide Ms. Silveria, Director Silveria, some more information on that, how that works? Why isn't it a surplus to the 21 budget, and why aren't you using FY 22 funding for an event that's happening in FY 22? It looks like it's a way to double dip on expenditures in that. But we're gonna look at it a little deeper, and Madam Auditor will deal with the Director Silveria on it, and also Director Fortunato. Okay, tree lighting, $90,000. Talk about what that's about.
Yep, so traditionally we have done 2 tree lightings in the downtown area, one on City Hall steps and one at the rink. This past year we did tree lightings and other holiday lighting events in the neighborhoods. So the $90,000 would allow us to do the same amount of events that we did last year. We also were able to expand the winter holidays that we celebrated with some virtual programming. So we did virtual programming. We presented that for Hanukkah, for Kwanzaa, and for the winter solstice and Three Kings. So we'd like to be able to continue to support that programming as well. So again, it's a hybrid plan to celebrate the winter holidays.
Okay, Councilman Narducci, I see your hand up. Do you have a question or comment?
Actually, a question, because I've been a city councilman going into my 15th year, and I've never got any type of tree lighting done by Arts, Culture, and Tourism. How do you go about what neighborhood you go into, and why is it in all 15 of our wards? That kind of is confusing me.
Yeah, we worked with City Council staff to help make those connections. So we got this grant in October and it needed to be implemented by the end of December. It was a very fast turnaround. And so we really relied on partners to be able to facilitate those lightings. Former council staff, Billy Kepner, was really our primary contact in helping to make those connections and to help produce the virtual programs that went alongside the in-person lightings that happened in neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's even more upsetting to me, Chairman, is knowing that our own staff picked and choose neighborhoods. I think that those are programs, and I love Christmas lights, but those are programs, if we're gonna do in one neighborhood, we should be doing in all 15 neighborhoods moving forward, or don't do them at all.
I think that's
So
a good
Director,
goal.
thank you, Councilman. Director, just following up on Councilman Narducci's, how many wards did you do tree lightings in? Do you know?
I can look that up for you. Sorry.
I mean, you know,
I think,
Madam Chair, if I may just quick.
please, go ahead.
My council, the North End Community Action Committee, which is a committee we started when I first got elected, actually had to pay out of their account for our Christmas tree and the lighting.
We did 11 last year, and we did do Hopkins Square. I think that was on the list. If you didn't see lightings, that we could look back at the what happened there.
We put our own Christmas tree there. We paid for it, and Providence Parks Department put the lights on it for us.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that was a miscommunication. I will certainly look at that, but I do think it is our goal to be able to see that there is an event in all the wards. We will certainly facilitate better communications to make sure that is happening if we move forward with this expanded winter holiday programming.
And then, Madam Chair, just one quick question. I know it's a little off the budget, but the Opera in the Park was always a great success for us here in the North End. And, obviously we didn't have it last year or the year before. I'm hoping that we're going to be getting that back this year.
That is our hope too. We do plan to do that. We are having a meeting with the neighborhood groups that we usually work with tomorrow, and I'll check to see if Opera in the Park is RSVP'd for that. But we will certainly make sure that we reach out to them to see how they want to think about the summer programs.
Thank you.
That is a very popular event.
All set, Councilman Narducci?
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good comments and questions, sir. I want to follow up on Councilman Narducci's line of questioning. I know I paid for my own Christmas tree in my ward, so the Parks Department lit them for me, or lit the tree for me, and we did have some tree lighting. I thought that the council office worked with arts. I thought they worked with your department. I'm not sure, but I do think that we need a standardization on these tree lightings and making sure that, we're doing the same thing in every ward. And I think most importantly, we're a city of neighborhoods, and it's nice that we get to light a tree downtown, but each council person would like to be able to celebrate their ward during the holiday season, and we would like to ask that you reach out to the council office and take an extra effort to make sure that you're touching each ward at the holiday season, absolutely. But you mentioned that you have summer programming. Each council person has summer programming. I know I have summer programming in my ward. You've helped us with, we have a movie in the park at Conley Stadium. You guys helped us with purchasing a film, which I don't think is a lot of money, but expanding and promoting those community events are really important to us. They're really important to the neighborhoods. So I guess beyond just providing the film, what promotional opportunities exist with that collaboration and that partnership? Because those are the things we should be looking at. Because that expands your reach into our neighborhoods, and that's really what we want. I know you mentioned that you work with neighborhood groups, but we need you to also work with the council people to make sure that each area is being treated fairly and there's equity across the city. So I'm going to ask you to reach out to our Chief of Staff and our Deputy Chief of Staff, Jimmy Lombardi and Yvonne Graff, and make sure that you're touching each neighborhood with arts culture, with your department. all right? I think you get a lot of grants, and we need to spread it out. So that's important to us. Thank you, Councilman Narducci, for focusing in on that. Good line of thoughts. And Stephanie, do you have any thoughts on that? You want to follow up on that?
I will make sure to follow up on that because I think that it would be great to have a menu of options and sort of be able to work together on not only the process for securing the spaces and you know, helping to identify artists that are appropriate for, you know, different kinds of events, different times of day or different settings, but thinking about how we could use the arts calendar that we do host as well as our other promotional platforms to be able to help to really cross promote those events and to help, you know, people discover all of the neighborhood gems. You know, I think there are so many reasons to get out and explore the city of Providence, and certainly the neighborhoods, each one holds, you know, something special to experience and places to eat and, you know, to discover. So I look forward to following up on that to figure out how we can facilitate a better process that will make it more equitable across the city.
I see our Chief of Staff is actually on this call, so I'm going to ask that he follow up with you. And I can't express enough to you how serious we are, that we've got to get your department out to every community, in every neighborhood. We work very closely with the Parks Department. I think you know that. I think I was on a call with you and we talked about summer programming. We talked about produce in the park. We talked about a number of things that serve our neighborhood. We're not seeing you there, and we need your department in our wards, boots on the ground, helping us with programming and working with the council. So I'm going to have Jimmy follow up with you if that's okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Director Fortunato? Madam Auditor?
I do not.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you very much, Director, for all you do for our city. We appreciate your time and your presentation this evening, and I can't find my agenda. Here it is. I think we're all set for tonight. I need a motion to waive the reading of budget articles 1 through 4 and continue. May I have that motion?
Motion made, Madam Chair.
Second. Motion made by Councilman Narducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes. A motion to adjourn, seeing there's no further business this evening, made by Councilman Narducci, seconded by Councilwoman Castillo. All in favor? Aye.
And Sherry,
Any
thank you.
opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes. We're adjourned.
Sherry, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you to the clerks who kept us functioning this evening.
Technical difficulties.
No worries. Thank you all.